Chapter 1. Just because I pointed out in a meeting that the intern's proposal had errors that could cost the company $1 million, he felt he'd lost face and ran crying to the CEO, my fiancée, threatening to quit. Without a second thought, my fiancée, Victoria Vance, stormed into my office to call me to account. Couldn't you have told him privately? Ethan's young and sensitive. Why did you have to embarrass him in front of everyone? Don't forget his father is a major shareholder. Now, you have two options. 1, I promote Ethan Hayes with a raise, you become his assistant, and then I can agree to go public with our relationship. 2, you continue being so arrogant and we break up. Seeing my silence, she smirked triumphantly. I knew you wouldn't pass up the chance to make us official. Now, give your office to Ethan, and then, the next moment I calmly interrupted her. Sorry, I choose option 2, but I'll resign voluntarily. And I wish you and Ethan Hayes all the best. May you have a long and happy life together, sincere Clark. Do you have any idea what you're saying? Victoria shot up from her desk and rushed over to question me, losing her usual composure for the first time. I calmly repeated, I resign. We're finished. Saying that, I ignored her and began packing my personal belongings. I'd been with the company since its founding days. I'd used this office for years. There was a lot to pack. I put my thermos, blanket, and other items into a box, then organized my work files. These were projects I was currently managing. Many clients worked with us specifically because of me, but I wouldn't be able to see them through. Victoria stared intently at my actions, her tone chilling. Sincere, you're 34. It wasn't easy getting to VP. You know how tough the market is out there. Are you really going to be this willful? I didn't respond, just printed out my resignation letter and signed my name. Victoria's brow furrowed tighter. Just then, Ethan Hayes, the intern, walked over carrying coffee, cautiously glancing at me. Miss Vance, is Mr. Clark mad at me? Is he using resignation to force me out? Please don't make things difficult. Mr. Clark is a company veteran. I'll just leave. His eyes were red-rimmed, welling up with tears. Any hesitation in Victoria's eyes vanished instantly, replaced by deep displeasure towards me. Sincere, I've given you a way out. Aren't you going to take it? Do you really think this company can't function without you? So you're determined to resign? Fine. Your resignation is approved with that. She coldly snatched the resignation letter, quickly signed it, and threw it at me. Then she took Ethan's arm and turned to leave. Seeing her cold indifference, a pang of bitterness rose in my heart. Victoria and I met in college. Back then, my family was poor, and I focused solely on my studies, often targeted and mocked by classmates. It was Victoria who repeatedly defended me, even initiating meals together and pursuing me. Throughout college, she was consistently gentle towards me. After graduation, we started the company together, enduring the toughest times side by side. We agreed to marry once the company was stable, but everything changed when Ethan's father, Arthur Hayes, invested and became a major shareholder, placing his son here as an intern. Ethan's work attitude was sloppy, and he made frequent mistakes. When I simply pointed them out for correction, Victoria would personally warn me not to bully the newcomer. I argued reasonably, always putting the company first, but she repeatedly undermined me to protect Ethan. Now, just because I mentioned Ethan in a meeting, she was using our relationship to force me out of my position. It seemed I should have let go long ago. After leaving the company, I immediately received a call from HR at Dragon Holdings, a top firm in the industry. Mr. Clark, I heard you just resigned. Apologies for the intrusion, but our company would like to extend another invitation for you to join us. We hope you'll consider it. Over the years, due to my strong work performance, many large companies in the industry had tried to poach me privately. But I was devoted to Victoria and rejected them all, working tirelessly for her company until now. And now I was left with nothing. They offered me a package 3 times my previous compensation. I finally agreed to meet them tomorrow. Returning to the home Victoria and I shared, I intended to pack my bags and leave immediately. But upon opening the door, I saw Victoria in the kitchen, standing behind Ethan with a gentle expression. tying an apron for him. "Ms. Vance, just stand aside and relax. The meal I'm making today is guaranteed to suit your taste." "Oh, really? I have a very picky palate, you know." They bantered intimately, oblivious to anyone else, the atmosphere warm and harmonious. The next moment, Victoria noticed me. The smile vanished from her face instantly, and she said coolly, "Ethan, just make enough for the two of us. Someone was feeling ambitious today. I'm sure he wouldn't deign to eat at home." I knew she was making snide remarks at me. I ignored her and bent down to change my shoes. Victoria frowned, then lifted her chin towards me. "Sincere, since you're back, you must realize you were wrong. What are you standing there blankly for? Go apologize to Ethan and earn his forgiveness. I can overlook what happened this morning. I can still keep your position at the company for you." Seeing her high and mighty attitude, I only felt a chilling coldness. No matter how good things were between two people, eventually they could fall apart. I still didn't respond, walked past her towards the balcony to collect some clothes. Victoria, feeling slighted by my repeated indifference, was about to speak. Just then, Ethan walked over carrying a bowl of soup, deliberately bumping into me. He feigned a cry of pain and fell to the floor, splashing soup all over himself. "Ah, it's hot, Sincere. Even if you resent me, you don't have to do this, do you?" He lay on the floor, clutching his reddened hand, tears streaming down his face. This was Ethan's usual tactic to sow discord between Victoria and me. At the office, he'd pretend to work late, claiming I deliberately overworked him, or splash water on himself and accuse me of losing my temper. I usually couldn't be bothered to deal with him, but this time, I didn't want him to get away with it. He likes claiming I bully him? Fine, I'll grant his wish. I reached back, grabbed a plate from the table, and before Ethan could get up, dumped the stir-fry he had just cooked all over him. Greasy sauce dripped from his hair. Ethan screamed in fright, tears spurting out. Victoria rushed over, shoved me aside, and roared furiously, "Sincere, are you crazy? Why are you always targeting Ethan? You disappoint me so much." I smirked. Disappointed? That's great. Perfect timing for us to cut off all contact forever. Victoria flushed red with anger, speechless for a moment, but then Ethan started sobbing, and she could only take him to the hospital. When the living room door slammed shut, the apartment was finally quiet. I let out a breath, feeling some obsession gradually dissipate. With a bitter smile, I picked up my suitcase and walked out the door. "Victoria, we are truly finished." I returned to my old bachelor pad. I hadn't really lived in it since buying and renovating it, prioritizing being close to Victoria. Just as I was about to call a cleaning service, Victoria's call suddenly came through. I expected her to chew me out, but her tone was uncharacteristically gentle. "Sincere, stop this nonsense. Ethan is kind. He won't hold what you did today against you. Rest well at home this afternoon. Tomorrow, go to the company and be Ethan's assistant. Help him oversee the projects. We'll get married in 3 days. That should satisfy you, right?" Hearing the condition about marriage, I felt nothing but irony. For years, I had repeatedly hoped to move forward with our wedding plans, but Victoria always found reasons to delay. Now she finally agreed, but it was for another man's sake. I gave a sarcastic smirk, about to speak, when Ethan's affected, aggrieved voice came from the other end. "Forget it, Miss Vance. If Mr. Clark becomes my assistant, he'll definitely target me even more. I wouldn't dare. I can't compete with Mr. Clark. I'm too stupid. Don't worry, Ethan. With me here, Sincere won't bully you again." Victoria quickly soothed him gently, her patient tone making it sound like he was her boyfriend. I frowned in disgust and interrupted. "Make me his assistant? Is he even qualified? Since you think Ethan is so brilliant, why does he need an assistant? Surely he can complete the projects all by himself." Victoria paused, then snapped angrily. "Sincere, are you trying to be difficult? I've already agreed to marry you. What more do you want? You don't appreciate the chance I'm giving you. Don't regret this." With that, she hung up. I paid no attention to this minor interruption and continued arranging for the cleaning service. After tidying up, I was lounging on the sofa browsing industry news when Ethan suddenly sent me a video call request. When I answered, Ethan was leaning back in Victoria's CEO chair, legs crossed, looking smugly triumphant, panning the camera around the office. Sincere, the CEO, asked me to work overtime in her office. She even got me water. Have you ever enjoyed such treatment? Victoria was notoriously particular about cleanliness and disliked anyone touching things in her office. Even I wasn't allowed in without permission. It seemed Ethan was truly the exception. Seeing my silence, Ethan gloated. The CEO has already transferred all the projects you were handling to me. She's made me acting VP, taking over all your responsibilities. You? You're destined to be discarded, I scoffed. Is that so? Well, you'd better work hard then. Try to drive your CEO's company into bankruptcy sooner rather than later. Sincere, you son of a Ethan was about to curse when the sound of a door opening came from his end. The video call immediately disconnected. I shook my head ironically. If Victoria truly trusted Ethan with all those projects, the company was really doomed. The next morning, I went to Dragon Holdings for my meeting and agreed to start soon. As I was leaving, I suddenly received several notifications about severing family link connections on various apps. When Victoria and I were close, many of our apps were linked. We considered ourselves inseparable. It seems Victoria had just gotten home and discovered I'd moved out. No phone call, just unilateral disconnection. I didn't need to guess how angry she was right now, but it had nothing to do with me anymore. For the next 2 days, I was busy with my new job. Victoria didn't contact me. She just kept updating her social media with posts about being with Ethan, even changing our couple profile pictures on some platforms to plain black. I knew she was waiting for me to initiate reconciliation, but I didn't care anymore. Until the evening of the 3rd day, when I came home to find a cardboard box by my door, labeled for Sincere Clark. I brought it inside and opened it. It contained mementos of my time with Victoria. There was the love letter she wrote when she first confessed her feelings in college, the matching accessories she bought for us, photos from our trips, and the lipstick-stained page commemorating our first kiss. Looking at these items, memories of the past flooded back. But ultimately we had drifted apart. I threw them one by one into a metal basin and lit them on fire, watching the flames consume the flickering images of our past, feeling strangely calm. Just then, the door was pushed open, and Victoria rushed in aghast. Ignoring the risk of burns, she snatched the burning photos, desperately slapping at the flames, her voice anxious and sharp. Sincere, what are you doing burning these things? Victoria struggled to extinguish the fire, blistering her fair hands. Tears welled in her eyes as she glared at me furiously. Sincere, have you forgotten what these things mean to us? How could you burn them? I asked calmly. Didn't you send these old things over for me to deal with? They're useless anyway. Burning them is fine. Victoria stared at me in disbelief, seemingly shocked by my composure. After a long moment, she finally explained helplessly, Sincere, all right, don't be angry anymore. I admit when you pointed out Ethan's issues at the company, it was for the greater good. The reason I asked you to apologize was simply because Ethan is Mr. Hayes' son. I know I hurt you, and I apologize, okay? Come back as VP on the same level as Ethan. Just try not to interfere in his matters from now on. How about that? I looked at her silently, finding the situation utterly ridiculous. Victoria added on her own, but there's one condition. Before you rejoin the company, I hope you can apologize to Ethan. After all, you did physically attack him last time. As long as he forgives you, you can come back. Hearing this, I suddenly couldn't help but laugh out loud. Victoria, you really think too highly of yourself. Did I ever say I wanted to come back? Apologize to Ethan? Frankly, he doesn't deserve it. My words clearly struck a nerve. Victoria's face fell. She stood up abruptly, furious, and slammed the door on her way out. The next morning, I arrived at Dragon Holdings for work. Just as I reached the office building, I saw Victoria and Ethan walking together in the distance, chatting and laughing. Ethan, do well on this project. If you land it, I'll arrange for your promotion. Ms. Vance, you're so good to me. As they spoke, Victoria saw me. Her expression instantly turned cold. Sincere, what are you doing here, Ms. Vance? Isn't it obvious? Mr. Clark must be too embarrassed to beg you at the office, so he came here to intercept you. Trying to get his job back, Ethan chimed in, looking at me with a smirk. Victoria immediately understood. Her expression remained cold, but softened slightly. She huffed. I gave you a way out yesterday and you refused. Now you're here pestering me. Sincere, I see you're becoming increasingly clueless since you're already here. Go ahead and apologize to Ethan now. She lifted her chin slightly, resuming her usual dignified and proud CEO demeanor. Ethan looked at me, eyes full of triumph, trying to appear magnanimous. Oh, come on, forget it. As long as Mr. Clark doesn't make things difficult for me at the company, we can work together fine as equals. No, he must apologize, Victoria stated coldly, glancing sharply at me. Getting physical crosses a line. Watching their coordinated act, I felt utterly speechless. Who said I was going to apologize? And I have no need to return to your company. Could you please get out of my way, Sincere? Have you caused enough trouble? I already agreed to let you be VP alongside Ethan. What more do you want? Victoria looked at me, disappointed. Ethan, however, acted as if he saw right through me, speaking smugly. Oh, I get it. Mr. Clark must feel unbalanced because all his original projects were given to me. But Ms. Vance, he walked off the job someone had to take over. How about this? From now on, Mr. Clark gets first pick of projects, and I'll take what's left. That should be fair, right? Hearing this, Victoria's gaze towards me filled with even more disgust, as if my refusal to back down was pushing my luck. But I truly felt helpless. How could Ethan be so confident with his level of competence? Wasn't Victoria afraid he'd screw up badly? Whatever. It wasn't my problem. I shook my head, said nothing, and turned to leave. Victoria was about to reprimand me when her phone suddenly rang even without speakerphone. I clearly heard the voice on the other end. Ms. Vance, bad news. The proposal submitted yesterday has serious flaws and caused the client huge losses. Now they're going to sue the company. The person responsible for this project is Ethan Hayes. Instantly, Victoria's face turned pale. She whipped her head around to look at Ethan, her eyes sharp. Ethan recoiled in fear. Chapter 2 Millions. Ms. Vance, there must be some misunderstanding. Ethan stammered, then pointed sharply at me. These projects were all taken over from Sincere. He bears responsibility too. Sincere, don't think you can just dump this mess on me because you resigned. Don't even think about it to prove his innocence. Ethan started playing the victim again, speaking to Victoria with a tearful voice. Ms. Vance, I just took over Sincere's projects. He must have set me up. Don't you trust me? Seeing his pitiful appearance, Victoria's slightly suspicious eyes instantly softened. She frowned at me, then spoke softly to Ethan. All right, let's go back to the company first and deal with this. Of course I trust you. If Sincere did this, I will absolutely make him take responsibility before leaving. Victoria gave me a deep look, then walked away. As Ethan left, he curled his lip into a triumphant smirk and taunted, See, Sincere? No matter what, Victoria will always believe me. I glanced at him as if he were an idiot, walked past him and entered the elevator. I never expected such drama just coming to work. That afternoon, I heard updates about Victoria's company from a former colleague. Because I had previously handled the projects, the client trusted us and hadn't raised many questions. But this time, with Ethan in charge, numerous problems arose, causing severe financial losses. Now, the client was demanding accountability. Upon learning that the project lead had been switched without notice, they were furious and planned to sue Victoria's company, holding them legally responsible. Victoria was frantic. Ms. Vance, I honestly didn't know such small issues could lead to such serious consequences. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. What do we do now? Maybe I should go apologize to the client? Mrs. Vance, please don't ignore me. My heart is breaking. This conversation was secretly recorded by a former colleague passing Victoria's office. When Victoria discovered that Ethan was indeed the culprit and had made basic, common-sense errors, she erupted in fury for the first time. She publicly threw the rejected proposal documents in Ethan's face. Ethan was stunned. He started playing the tearful victim again, but this time Victoria wasn't moved. She went straight back to her office. Ethan followed her in, apologizing profusely. But Victoria wasn't buying it this time. Previously, whenever I found his mistakes and corrected them before they caused damage, Victoria always downplayed the issues, telling me to be more tolerant. Now that money was involved, she wasn't telling anyone to be magnanimous. She only resented Ethan for being unable to handle even simple tasks. Ethan, when Sincere used to point out your problematic work attitude, I defended you. I never knew you were this incompetent. Now I don't want to see you. Get out, Ethan, having never been scolded like this by Victoria, felt his pride wounded and stormed out. The recording ended there. I thought helplessly, perhaps this was karma. You reap what you sow. I assumed the matter would end after the payment was made, but I was wrong. When I returned home that evening, Victoria was waiting at my door. Sincere, you're back? Her unusually polite tone almost threw me off. I gave a faint What are you here for? Seeing my distant attitude, a flicker of disappointment crossed Victoria's face. She followed me into the living room. Sitting on the sofa, she spoke softly. Sincere, you've heard about the company's situation. I heard the client representative is a personal acquaintance of yours. Could you possibly contact them, ask them to go easy on us, not take it to court? I've investigated this matter thoroughly. It was Ethan's fault. Her voice was heavy with deep regret. You used to tell me Ethan was careless, that you were managing risks for the company. I thought you were being too harsh, hurting Ethan's pride. I never imagined he could be so utterly incompetent. Seeing her admit Ethan's shortcomings to me for the first time, even though I'd heard her scolding him during the day, I was still somewhat surprised. But I quickly understood. She wanted me to mediate with the client to mitigate the losses. However, my relationship with the client was purely professional. They appreciated me because of my serious and responsible work ethic. Now, Ethan's unprofessional proposal had caused them losses and damaged their reputation. Regardless of whether I had any influence, even if I did, I wasn't willing to use the credibility I'd built over years of work to cover for Ethan. Sorry, I can't help with this. I refused bluntly, crushing her hopes. Victoria became agitated, suddenly rising and sitting next to me, trying to take my hand. Sincere, I'm not asking you as the CEO, but as your girlfriend. We've been together for so many years, the company is in trouble. Why can't you help me just this once? She looked at me pleadingly, her eyes shimmering with tears. I pushed her hand away, stating coldly, Victoria, have you forgotten? We've already broken up. Victoria choked, speechless. After a moment she said hoarsely, Sincere, I always thought we were just having a Cold War. You were serious about breaking up? She looked at me, disappointed. I never intended to actually fire you. I explained last time I was favoring Ethan, but only because he's the shareholder's son. There were no romantic feelings involved. Why do you always have to be so nitpicky about everything? Nitpicky? I suddenly felt like laughing. Looking at the woman I had loved for so many years, she felt strangely unfamiliar. I couldn't help asking her, Victoria, do you remember the promises we made when we first started the company? She said we'd get married once the company was stable. She said she wouldn't marry anyone but me in this lifetime. She said I was the person she loved most in the world. But what happened later? She refused to go public with our relationship, refused to acknowledge me as her boyfriend publicly, and certainly wasn't willing to get married. Nitpicky? If I had been nitpicky, perhaps we would have broken up long ago. For a moment, Victoria fell silent. She looked at me guiltily, opened her mouth to explain, but realized that any words would sound incredibly hollow. Finally, Victoria said hoarsely, Sincere, help me this one time, and we'll get married immediately, okay? Just this once. I remained silent, just looking at her calmly. Finally, Victoria understood. Tears streamed down her face. Always so proud, she rarely showed such vulnerability. I'm sorry I disturbed you. Victoria choked out the words and hastily got up to leave. As the door closed, I was alone in the apartment again. I sighed inwardly. How did two people who were once so close end up like this? But no matter what, there was no going back. 2 days later, I heard that Victoria paid the compensation to the client company as agreed and demoted Ethan back to an intern position, effectively firing him from any real responsibility. The atmosphere in the company became tense. No one dared to push their luck. Ethan tried several times to curry favor with Victoria, but she remained indifferent towards him. If he weren't the shareholder's son, he probably would have been fired outright. I thought this was the end of the matter, but I didn't realize it was just the beginning. Soon, Victoria's company faced another lawsuit. All the projects Ethan had taken over and completed recently turned out to have problems. Many clients came to the company demanding resolution. The affair caused a stir in the industry, and many potential deals fell through. This alerted the shareholders, who came to the company demanding answers. Leading the charge was Ethan's own father, Arthur Hayes. In front of all the employees, he tore into Victoria. "Ms. Vance, how exactly are you running this company? How many lawsuits have you racked up these past few days, all based on such basic mistakes? What have you been doing all these years? You can't even control this. Do you expect my money to cover all the holes you've dug?" He showed no mercy, pointing and yelling right in her face for a full 10 minutes. Then they moved to the shareholder meeting room for another round of criticism. Throughout the ordeal, Victoria couldn't get a word in to explain that it was his son Ethan who had caused the mess. Seeing his father, Ethan didn't dare utter a word, showing no sense of responsibility. For someone as proud as Victoria, it was the first time she had been treated with such disrespect. Yet the person she had protected, Ethan, acted like a coward. Finally, another colleague couldn't stand it anymore and explained the situation. Arthur Hayes dragged his son out directly. Only then did the farce end. My former colleagues told me all this privately via messages. "Mr. Clark, I saw Ms. Vance crying secretly afterwards. That Ethan Hayes is really good for nothing. He didn't say a single word to defend her. Ms. Vance is completely disillusioned with him now." Hearing this, I didn't know what to say for a moment. Victoria must be regretting her choices deeply now, regretting misjudging someone so badly. Putting these trivial matters aside, my mother, Eleanor Clark, called to ask when Victoria and I were getting married. She had asked this question at least 100 times, but this time I told her we had broken up. My mom was surprised but didn't press further, worried about upsetting me. The next day she sent me the contact information for a young woman. "Sincere dear, this girl is 5 years younger than you. She's Mrs. Davis's daughter from next door. Why don't you two get in touch? It's good to make friends too." Not wanting to worry my mother, I agreed. After adding her, I was surprised to learn her name was Isabel Davis, and she actually lived in the same complex as me, in the building opposite mine. Via message, she invited me. "Want to come down for a walk?" Having nothing better to do, I agreed. I changed into casual clothes and went downstairs, where I saw a charming young woman looking around. Perhaps it was a coincidence, but I saw a shadow of the college-aged Victoria in her. Back then, Victoria was also this youthful and vibrant. "Are you Sincere Clark?" Isabel Davis approached me proactively. I nodded. We walked together, chatting about housing, local amenities. The conversation flowed easily. After walking for half an hour as we were about to head back, I suddenly heard the familiar click of high heels behind me. Turning around, I saw Victoria, whom I hadn't seen in days, her eyes red, watching Isabel and me. "Sincere," she called out hoarsely, her gaze fixed intently on me. Isabel saw her, politely excused herself, and went back without asking any questions. I watched Victoria walk towards me step by step. She said plaintively, "Who is she? Your girlfriend? Sincere, say something. Is there something you need?" I didn't answer her question, just asked mine. Victoria looked at me pitifully. "I missed you. These days I haven't slept well a single night. I've fired Ethan Hayes. Can we start over, please? By the way, the company is having serious cash flow problems. I want to downsize. You know the employees best. Could you handle it? Her eyes were full of longing. Just like before, let's team up and focus on the business again. That girl just now, she's not right for you. We're the ones who should be together. Seeing her stubbornness, I knew that if I refused, she wouldn't give up. She hadn't seen me for days. Today, she must have finally made up her mind. But I wouldn't go back. I don't want to get back together. We're not suitable for each other. Victoria, let it go, I said calmly. Now I had a thriving career, a relaxed personal life, much more comfortable than before. But Victoria grew desperate. Why, Sincere? I don't believe you can just let me go like this. Nothing ever happened between Ethan and me. I've admitted my mistake now. Just say the word, and we can be like we were before. Why do you have to be like this? I remained silent. Victoria burst into tears, gripping my hand tightly, pleading with me for the first time. Sincere, please don't be like this, okay? Do you think I'm lying to you? Let's go right now, to the city hall. When it opens, we'll get married immediately, okay? Okay? Her persistence wore down my patience. I pulled my hand away and said coolly, That's enough, Victoria. Let's part amicably. Don't make me start to resent you. With that, I went upstairs alone. That night, Victoria waited downstairs all night. I didn't sleep well either. The next day, Isabel and I had plans to see a movie. Just as we sat down, I realized Victoria was in the seat next to mine. Sincere, what a coincidence, she smiled at me, a hint of nervousness in her eyes. I couldn't help but frown. Victoria was tracking my movements? This repulsed me. I said coldly, Was I not clear yesterday? We cannot get back together. But I want to pursue you again. Sincere, don't forget. I was the one who pursued you first, remember? Yes, in college when I was being bullied, she stepped in to help. Later, she always chose the same classes as me, sat next to me, initiated conversations, asked me out. I refused the first few times, but eventually, her persistence won me over. The Victoria back then wasn't as mature and aloof as she was now. She had the vibrant energy of a college student, which is why I fell so deeply for her. Now, that feeling had long faded with time. The situation felt similar, but the people had changed. Victoria, I already have a girlfriend, I stated coolly, taking Isabel's hand beside me to make my point. Isabel's eyes assessed Victoria for a few seconds, then she smiled faintly and rested her head on my shoulder. Ma'am, Sincere and I have decided to get engaged. When we get married, you should come celebrate with us, okay? That single sentence made Victoria completely lose her composure. Right as the movie started, she stood up abruptly, pointed at me, and cried out sharply, Sincere, you're going to marry her? I forbid you from marrying her. I forbid it. Her voice disturbed everyone in the theater, and disgruntled murmurs arose. Soon, staff members escorted Victoria out. Once the theater fell silent again, Isabel suddenly leaned close to my ear and whispered, Have you really let go? I looked into her sparkling eyes and nodded. 2 days later, while I was at work, I suddenly received an email. It was a job offer from Victoria. She offered me the position of general manager, tripled my salary, and gave me 5 equity in the company. 2 minutes later, Victoria sent a message. You received the offer, right? Can you start tomorrow? Her tone didn't sound like she was asking for my opinion. She assumed I wouldn't refuse such a generous offer. After all, she once said I was getting older, the job market was terrible, and I couldn't find a good job without relying entirely on her. But she was wrong. Many major companies wanted to hire me. I already have a job. After replying, I put my phone down and continued with my work. When I picked up my phone again around lunchtime, Victoria had sent several messages. First, she accused me of lying, claiming it was impossible to find a job so quickly. Then, she insisted I must have joined some subpar company, wasting my talent. Finally, she asked where my new company was. I didn't reply for a long time. She sent a few more messages before finally stopping. When I left work that evening, Victoria was waiting at the company entrance, staring intently at me. She approached me immediately. "I never expected you to join Dragon Holdings. You were planning to jump ship all along, weren't you?" Sincere, I originally thought I was the one in the wrong. But it turns out you were the one whose heart changed first. Passing colleagues glanced over curiously. I frowned, pulling Victoria to a less crowded spot before saying irritably, "What do you want?" "Victoria, I've told you many times, we are over. Sincere, don't you feel even a little bit guilty towards me?" "How can you be so heartless?" Victoria demanded angrily, her voice eventually breaking into a sob. I was really tired of arguing with her. If all you have are these pointless complaints every time, I really don't want to waste any more time listening. "Victoria, there are plenty of men in the world. With this time, you could go find Ethan. He's suitable for you." Whenever Ethan cried, she would feel sorry for him. That's how it should be between couples. Feeling sorry for someone is the beginning of love. Victoria, angered, tried to explain further, but just then a figure emerged from the side, holding a large bouquet of roses that finally revealed the person's face. It was Ethan. Dressed in a white suit, he walked quickly towards Victoria. "Victoria, I've been looking for you everywhere. I finally found you. Roses for you." Ethan beamed at Victoria, waiting for her to be moved, but Victoria's face was filled with disgust. "Get lost, I told you never to let me see you again. Don't you understand?" Ethan's face fell, but he quickly forced a smile, trying to appease her. "Victoria, don't be angry. You don't know, I snuck out of the house. After what happened last time, my dad wouldn't let me leave. But I missed you. I felt I wronged you, so I came to apologize. If you're still mad at me, I really don't know what to do." He started trying to squeeze out a few tears, trembling as he held out a love letter. "All my thoughts of you these past few days are written inside." I had no interest in watching this farce and turned to leave, but Victoria hurried after me. The next second, seeing Victoria leaving, Ethan quickly chased after her, grabbing her hand, pleading, "Victoria, you can't do this to me. Look inside. It's all my heartfelt words." He even took the letter out of the envelope and unfolded it for her to see. Victoria impatiently shook him off, but as her eyes fell on the characters in the letter, her expression turned even more disgusted. "Ethan, go home and learn how to write properly before you come out again. It's full of typos. How can you even hold a job?" she finished coldly, tore Ethan's love letter into pieces and threw them in his face. Humiliated and enraged, Ethan furiously confronted her. The two actually started fighting, and I ended up calling the police. Later, I accidentally learned that Ethan wasn't actually his father's acknowledged heir, but an illegitimate son. His mother was just a bar hostess, and he was never valued at home. After the incident, his family had completely given up on him. That's why Ethan kept pestering Victoria, hoping to latch onto her and finally hold his head high. But in the end, he gained nothing. After that incident, I started consciously avoiding Victoria and grew increasingly close to Isabel. 3 months later, Isabel and I walked down the aisle. On the same day, Victoria's company declared bankruptcy. 5 years later, I started my own company and built a happy and successful life. Victoria contacted me a few more times during that period, wanting to go back to how things were, but I refused her every time. I heard she tried starting other businesses later, but they all failed. Eventually, she left the city and returned to her hometown. I stopped following news about her. Life is short, and I just want to live each present day to the fullest.